A struggle between an 11-year-old and Cal Expo police at the fair have both sides asking for people who were there to step forward. The family of the child says he was beaten and arrested after a minor incident at the California State Fair. Cal Expo telling a different story. We're taking a live look at Cal Expo, where the State Fair wrapped up this weekend. That's where we find Fox 40's Karma Dickerson joining us with more as the NAACP and Black Lives Matter are now involved. Karma.
Nikki, Eric, at this point, as you mentioned, the fair is over. Nevertheless, there's an Elk Grove family that says their 11-year-old was traumatized by something that happened here. They allege that that young man was racially profiled, that police used excessive force. However, Cal Expo telling a different story. They say their officers followed procedure and they're asking for witnesses to come forward.
There's nothing that validates what they did to him.
If you take nothing else away from the press conference outside Cal Expo Monday morning, Black Lives Matter Sacramento, Sacramento NAACP, and the family of Elijah Martin want you to understand that much.
They brought him down by choking him, hands around the neck, and this is from witnesses who saw this. They volunteered these statements.
Elijah Martin was at the fair July 19th with his parents and a group of friends when, according to his mother, horseplaying led him to be kicked off a ride and police chasing him down and beating him.
These were not strangers that he was horseplaying with in the line. These were all the same kids that rode in my car with us to the fair. But he was the only child that got beaten by the police. The other children that came with us to the fair do not look like him.
The Elk Grove mother says she followed as police took her 11-year-old son away, but would not let her be with him.
I was begging and pleading the officers. This is my child. Please let me come in. They refused to let me come into the interrogation room and slam the door in my face.
She says they questioned him without her and forced him to sign a document.
He had no idea what he was signing, and they threatened him that if he did not sign it, he would have further consequences.
However, a Cal Expo spokesperson says the boy did not have a parent present and he was released to his mother as soon as she arrived. In a written statement, the spokesperson said the boy was climbing over a fence, almost being hit by a roller coaster ride. Cal Expo police were initially notified about this youth by fair vendors, indicating he was attempting to steal items. After a short chase, the boy was detained by Cal Expo police and a small cut was addressed with a Band-Aid. After short questioning and agreement by him not to return to the fair, the minor was released to his mother without arrest.
When a person is restrained in their liberty and unable to move voluntarily, that's an arrest. Whatever you want to call it, that's an arrest.
Martin's attorney, Mark Marin, says that's not the only mistake officers made.
They obviously used excessive force against him in that false arrest. Then they took him someplace out of his mother's presence, which is a violation of the constitutional rights of the mother.
And so Martin's attorney has started the process of filing a lawsuit. Black Lives Matter, on the other hand, is demanding to know the names of the officers involved. They're calling for those officers to be fired, and they're asking if there is any body camera footage or any footage that they would be able to see that would show what happened. Also asking for new policies and oversight to prevent this. Now, both sides seem pretty adamant that witness statements will show that they are telling the truth in this case. So they're asking anyone who has any witness statements or any videos of what happened to come forward. Reporting from Cal Expo, Karma Dickerson, Fox 40 News.